Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Welcome to all the guests. Rabbi Isai, we're holding up Chav Gimel Omid Beis by the Mishnah. It's the same theme. It's mamish, the same questions and answers. Two things that are similar but very different. Kosher ba'para, pasal be'egla, kosher be'egla, pasal ba'para. We have something called the para aduma. Para aduma, we don't want to show the whole thing because that would be violent. You shecht a para aduma here, let me show you. There's a close-up even. Okay, so the para aduma is when somebody becomes, in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, people were tamei, we're still tamei today, that's why we're all tamei, we don't have para aduma. You go to the mikvah 100 times, if you don't have a paraduma, you cannot become for tmei meis. If a person's tummy went to Levaya or whatever, he cannot become tar unless he gets sprinkled by the paraduma ashes. Egla Rufa, the famous, they found a dead person. I can't. Is this violent? So this is also violent. Because they're shutting down our AI department. This is the Medidas. The people from the Yerushalayim, from the Bezin, they come, they measure, and then the city that's closest to the dead person has to bring a calf. We're not going to show the actual thing, but it's going to be very clear. He's getting... Now one shita says there's water, another shita says that it was very, very dry.
כפר לעמך ישראל אשר פודית.
Okay, so the difference between the two is obvious. One, you chop the animal's head from the oiref, from the nape, from the back of the neck, and one is a regular shechita. Paraduma gets regular shechita. So, if you do the shechita of a para on egla rufa, it's pasul, and if you do the chopping of the neck of the egla rufa on a paraduma, it's pasul. Each one has their way of killing the animal. Torah Rabbanon. So once again, we have Torah Rabbanon to explain the Mishnah. Para b'shchita kshera. When you shechta paraduma, that's the way it's kosher. Egla b'shchita kshera, b'arifa psula. Egla b'arifa kshera, b'shchita psula. By the egla rufa, which is the chopping, it's kosher for the egla rufa, but if you do shchita to egla rufa, it's possible. Nimtzis, it comes out. Kosher b'para, the shchita that's great b'para, possible b'egla, it doesn't work by egla rufa. Kosher b'egla, chopping with, what is it called, that big? Cleaver. The cleaver. Cutting with the cleaver is possible b'para, doing that with the paraduma would be possible. As the Gemara, the same question that we ask in all the Mishnayos, and we continue to ask the same kind of question, simple kind of Kal v'chomer. Utehei para ksher ba'rifa mekal v'chomer. Why don't we say that you could use a cleaver on a para aduma? Kal v'chomer. Ma'egla shlo yuchshor b'shchita yuchshor ba'rifa. Egla rufa shchita doesn't work, and we'll prove that soon. Shchita does not work, but the cleaver from the back of the neck works. So para yuchshor b'shchita and it didn't yuchshor ba'rifa. So certainly, chopping of the neck should work by a para aduma. Taisus points out that this question could be posed on all kachim. Maybe a oile, you should be able to chop the back of the neck. But paraduma and egla rufa are very similar in different ways, says Taisus, so we stick to that. Omakra, so the Gemara's initial answer is, and the Gemara is going to go away from this, v'shachat v'chuka. We know that paraduma has chayk. You don't ask questions, it's exactly as is. B'shchita in, ba'rifa loy. Only shchita and not a cleaver. Why? Because it says the word chukah. Ask the Gemara, daf chav daled Roman aleph on top. So every time it says the word chukah, you can't say kavachomer. We had a nice kavachomer, a very simple kavachomer that a cleaver should work on a paraduma. But you say no, the word chukah tells us don't mess around. It's exactly as is. Yom Kippurim, Yom Kippur, it says it says chukas. It does say chukah, and you see, you could say a kavachomer, but for another reason you don't say kavachomer. Basol chatos, hagoyer lo yisachatas, ve'en Hashem lo yisachatas. No chidushim today. Famous 2 goats that we have in Kippur. There's only one way to decide which one is Lashem and which one is La Azazel. And that's with a goyrel. You do a little raffle, and that's it. Whatever the raffle decides. What if the Kohen Gadol says, I want this one to be the shechted one. It looks nice. Let's bring this to Hashem. Let's throw this one off the cliff. It doesn't work. We're going to go through the whole thing now. A stick of violence. Everything has a stick of violence. Zvachen, Menachas, Chullin, we had a lot of violence. But then we got an email and we changed it all. Is it? Okay. Veloidinu, umab, mogim shloi kiddush hagorel kiddush Hashem, mogim shekiddush hagorel, and idin shekiddush Hashem. In a place. So it's interesting. This week's parasha. You can't answer. You. But the rest of you that don't know that, if you don't know the answer, you can answer. In this week's parasha that we just laned, where do we have a situation with a person brought 2 birds? Parashas Nasai. Nazir, the Nazir. Soida doesn't. Soida brings a mincha. The Nazir brings 2 birds. Uma b'makom shalei kiddush hagoyrel kiddush Hashem. Who decides which one of the birds is the chatas, which one is the oila? The owner, or the kayin later on. The owner when he purchases it, or the kayin. Are you allowed this? All these people that bring birds. You can't do a raffle. You can't, I'm going to do a raffle. Whatever comes out on a piece of wood. Doesn't work. You have to say, Chatos Oyla. So on Yom Kippur, where the raffle works, so certainly the raffle should work, and not the raffle, the words of the person should work. The kohen should be able to decide. Why don't I say the Kavachomer Rabbi Isai? Because I have a Mefurish pasuk that says Vaso Chatos. Hagoyer lo yisachatos v'en Hashem lo yisachatos. The pasuk teaches me that only a goyer. So the Gemara says, very good. Time because Rachman Vaso Chatos. Halav ha'achid Hashini Kavachomer. I need 2 words Vaso Chatos. Otherwise, I would have a Kavachomer. What happened to the fact that the Torah says Mefurish that Yom Kippur v'ha'is is zayis lechem lechukas. It's a chukah. Says the Gemara. Mit Rachmano Gabi Egla Arufa Ha'arufa. You're right. It has nothing to do with the word chukah. It has to do with the word Ha'arufa. Zois Barifa, Ve'en Acheres Barifa. Okay? We are being memayit from the word Ha'arufa. Only one thing has a cleaver by the back of the neck, and that's Egla Arufa, and nothing else. And now the Gemara just does the reverse kavachomer, the simplest kavachomer. How come you cannot check the egla arufa? Why do you have to use a cleaver? Have a kavachomer. A para aduma we already established. You can't use a cleaver. You have to do shchita. Egla sheksher barifa. So egla arufa that you could use a cleaver. It's more kal in a din shukshir b'shchita. Certainly you can use a regular knife and perform shchita. Amakra va'arfu egla. Just to remind the Olam, why not brush up on it? And when it comes to kachim, anytime it says something twice, shana olav akasav la'akiv, so it says va'arfu and it says va'arufa, that's a double lashon, that's only ba'arifa and not b'shchita, only with a cleaver, not with a knife. So a kohen, his main job is to do that krova of the korbanos. He also watches the Beis Hamikdash. He watches the Beis Hamikdash from the inside. What's the Levi's job?
Singing and closing the gates.
Singing, more than singing. Also using the instruments.
Security. Also in charge of security.
Security on the outside of the Beis Hamikdash, from the outside. And one more thing, Reb Nachman. What took them a long time to learn? Also the singing. But in the Mishkan, in the Midbar, they used to take apart the Kalim and then move all the Kalim. So we're going to see something super interesting. For me, it was super depressing, actually. Kosher b'kohanim, possible Levim. Levim have a very short period of time that they can do the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. Only 20 years. From the age of 30 to 50. 50 is considered too old. Agopanim, 30. You need 30 because in the NBA, I guess you have to learn, but over here you have to learn. It takes 5 years just to learn, so you can only start at 30. So what's kosher b'kohanim, there's no age limit on kohanim really. You start at bar mitzvah, but go until, we'll see, until you become really old. Kosher b'kohanim, possible levim. Years are not the big thing when it comes to kohen, but years are huge. Are the only thing that we care about by a Levi. Kosher b'levim, possible b'kohanim. What do we care about in kohanim? What passes a kohen? A mum. Broken leg, or this or that, no good by a kohen. By a Levi, it's not a big deal. So the same kind of thing that we had before by all the Mishnayos, with the difference between a paraduma and eglarufa, and the difference between a dove and bnei yoina, etc., etc. And now we have the Torah Rabbanon that explains us the Mishnah. Torah Rabbanon kohanim b'mumim psulim b'shonim ksherim. A kohen that has a mum is possible, but if he has age, he's kosher. Levim b'mumim ksherim b'shonim psulim. And when it comes to a Levi, if he has a mum, he's kosher. When he's between 30 and 50, any below 30 or above 50 is possible. Nimtza. So it comes out, kosher b'kohanim, possible Levim. Whatever is kosher b'kohanim is possible Levi, kosher b'Levim, possible b'kohanim. B'nanim, how do we know? The Torah Rabbanon zois asher le'Levim. This is something that the Levim have matam loymar, lefi shenem. Oh, it's this week's parasha coming up. B'nanim, the Torah Rabbanon zois asher le'Levim, matam loymar, lefi shenem, umi ben chamishim shana yashuv. The Torah tells us that in this week's parasha, that after 50 years, that's it, you're done. You see that there's a limit. I would say maybe a mum should also pass a Levi. B'dinu. I have a simple kavachaymer like we had in the other Mishnayos. Kohanim that don't have an age limit, but a mum passes. Levim shashana paislim. Levim are more chamor. There's an age limit. And he did shoot mum and paislim b'hem. Certainly a mum should pass a Levi. Tamad loymar zois asher levim. Zois levim ben acheres levim. Only a Levi has the age limit, and not the mum. Yochel yu kohanim psulim b'shanim. And so let's do the reverse. Maybe a kohen should have an age limit. A Levi that the mum doesn't affect him, but the years, his age limit does affect him. So a kohen that we don't let him do the avodah if he has a mum. Certainly, we shouldn't let him do the avodah if he's over 50 or under 30. Oh, so in the midbar, when you had to carry stuff, you had to be in top form, so there was a limit. You couldn't be too old, too young. But perhaps in Shiloh, when they're not carrying anything, in Beis Elamim, what's the Beis Elamim? The Beis Hamikdash. Yeah. There's nothing heavy there that they had to carry. Here, these are the 4 words. La'avoid, avoidas, avoida, va'avoidas. Maso. When are they puzzled completely, even for singing and playing instruments? When they had to carry stuff that was heavy, so they had a limit on that, so we're going to take that same limit and say, okay, they're locked in from 30 to 50, and that's it, even for singing. But when you don't have the avodas hakosef, you don't have the carrying, the schlepping, then you don't have that limit. We have a contradiction. In one pasuk it says that the Levi should be 25 years old because of Echad Omer ben Shloishim. It should be 30. What do we do with this contradiction? Okay, it's ad. He starts studying his avodah when he's 25. It takes him 5 years, from 25 to 30, to understand what he needs to do. Mikan l'talmid shaloi rasim yav b'mishnasai chamesh shanim. If a person learns Torah and he forgets, shuv ein roi, he's not going to see a siman bracha. Try for 5 years. If it doesn't work, try something else. Zog the Gemara. Rabbi Yosi Omer Shalish Shanim. It's not 5 years, it's 3 years. Shenemar ulegadlim shanim shalish. Ulelamdim sefer uleshoin kazdim. So Nebuchadnezzar took these Jewish children and he said, I need these Jewish children here in my castle. We're going to teach them kazdim. It's going to take 3 years to teach them a language. V'idach. So over here it says all it takes 3 years. So how come the other mandam says 5 years? Shani loshin kazdim lekalo. Okay, no big deal. To learn kazdim is easy, 3 years. A regular, to learn how to be a Levi, you need 5 years. V'idach. So how come he says 3 years when it seems like there's 5 years? Shani ilchaz avodah takifin. Einachanami. There's an afkamina between avodah and kazdim. To learn a language, 3 years. To learn avodah is 5 years. Toner Rabbanan. Kohen mishiyavish te saris that she askin kashal avodah. To be a kohen, to start doing the avodah, you have to be 13 with simanim until you're old. Umum and poison boy, obviously a mum, no good. Ben Levi, Ben Shleshim, Ben Chamishim, kashal avodah. A Levi needs to be at least 30 until 50. That's it. There's a 20-year period. Vishanim poison boy. Years passel, but not the mum. It's only in the midbar. Oh, how do you get if a guy sings off tune? Narvayim. Omer Rabbi Yosi, Mikra. I wasn't sure if kol echad means that everybody's singing together and they have this one guy that's he's off tune, or with the harmony, it doesn't fit in with the harmony. I don't know, okay. Zog the Gemara, ad kamo, how old is a kohen? What's his limit? Omar Rabbi Lo, Rabbi Chanina, says Rabbi Chanina, remember the name, Atziratis. When he starts shaking. Shaking is a mum. Balkeri shetoval v'lo hitl mayim. Person saw Kerry, so he goes to the mikvah, that night he becomes tar. But the problem is he didn't go to the bathroom, he didn't urinate. We're concerned that maybe a little bit of Kerry remained in his body, and when he goes to the bathroom, it comes out. And when it comes out, he becomes tummy again. That only applies to somebody who's sick or an older person, b'yelad or b'bari, a young person, a healthy person, tar. We're not concerned. Yelad at kama. So what does it mean? What does yelad mean? Usually yelad, a child. The same Rabbi Chanina, if he could stand on one foot. I remember doing this once in Shir. Standing on the table. I'm not going to attempt today. And he can remove his shoe, and he can put on a shoe as he's standing on one foot. He was 80 years old. Would stand on one foot. Omer Reb Chanina, says Reb Chanina, Chamin v'shemen shesachasni imi b'yaldusi. The hot water, the oil that my mother rubbed on my body when I was a little baby, hein omduli beiziknusi. A lot of people want to say, Chamin means the warmth of my mother. So what's pshat in shemen? Things that slipped. She let things slip away. She wasn't makbid on the words. Okay. This person who has a beard, so he could be a shliach tzibur. What does a shliach tzibur mean? He could do, says Rashi, he could blow the shofar, he could put people in nido, he could do malchus, he could be the shliach of the tzibur. It doesn't mean what we call shliach tzibur, because that's the next word. And he could be a shliach tzibur for the he could dam for the amud. Velisa is kapov. Oh, so this is problematic for us. He could do duchening. When? When he has a full beard. So, as Toisves, here we go, Vim Toimar. The B'soiflu of Agazal Mashma that Filokadanoises Kappa, even a young kid could do duchening. The Shloimar, he says at the end, the Hadakadanoises Kappa Vainu Magdoilim. A child can only do it together with adults, but he can't go up there. But Lamaisa, we see that kids, 13, 14-year-olds do it by themselves. I don't know how that works exactly with this Gemara. Seems like you need a beard. When does a kohen become kosher la'avodah? When he has simanim, Rabbi Omer ani atshiyeh ben esrim. He should be at least 20 for a kohen. Omer Chizah, my time of the Rebbe, Where did he get it from? It says in the pasuk Levim 20. So the Gemara is going to say at the end, Levim means Kohanim, but it says Mi Ben Esrim from 20 years old. V'malo l'natzeach al meleches beis Hashem. V'idach l'natzeach shani. L'natzeach means a difficult avodah. So that taki you need a 20-year-old. V'ayikra b'Levim. So what do you bring me a raya from a pasuk that says Levim? We're talking about Kohanim. A Kohen has to be 20. 24 different places. The Torah calls a Kohen a Levi. It's in fact a Kohen. Ish. Mizrachel deroisa. Let's see the whole passage because it's important. Ish mizrachel asher yevoy mom. An adult has a blemish. Mashma says the Gemara. Mikan omer Bilazar katan pasal avodah afilu tam. It's only that adult has a blemish, he shouldn't do the avodah. But a katan without a blemish, if he's tam, he's complete, doesn't have a mom, he's puzzled. He needs simonim. But the Kohanim, the other Kohanim don't allow him. He could technically start when he's 13, but the other Kohanim won't allow him until he's 20. This is literally Shitas Rebbe. Vafilu psul d'Rabbanan Leslie. There's no psul d'Rabbanan, but the Eved is mutter to do the avodah. V'gedamri Rebbe Islay psul d'Rabbanan. No, but the Eved it's also to do the avodah. V'ha Rabbanani, and this is Shitas Rabbanan. L'chatchilu the Eved Rabbanan are the ones that hold that but the Eved it's okay. All right, so we continue with this theme. Torah b'kli cheres, Tomei b'kol hakelim. Torah b'kol hakelim, Tomei b'kli cheres. Oh. There's a very, very interesting halacha. When it comes to earthenware, if you take a dead mouse, a sheretz, what tumah does a sheretz have, Rabbi Isai? Av hatumah. When it comes to tumah, if something touches another thing, it drops one level. So av hatumah that touches something, that thing will become a rishon. If a rishon touches something, that becomes a sheni, etc. Sheni touches something, becomes a shlishi. A dead rat, mouse is a av hatuma. If an av hatuma touches the outside of an earthenware kli, let's say we have an oven made out of earthenware, and it touches the outside, it does not become tamei at all. Zero. It touches it, nothing. If that same mouse touches a metal vessel, it becomes tamei right away. But there's a tremendous chiddush when it comes to earthenware that if you put a dead mouse inside the ear space of earthenware, it becomes tamei right away. So if you take an avatuma mouse and you put it, it doesn't touch, it just goes in the ear space, it dangles in the ear space, must be in the ear space, not above, in the ear space, inside a cup, inside an oven, then that earthenware becomes what? It drops one level down to become a rishon. So all the food inside that oven will become a sheni, because the actual, later on, it'll become a sheni. So let's see how it works. The bread that touched the actual oven becomes a sheni. The sheni touches something else, becomes a shlishi. Okay. So that's what the Mishnah says. Tar b'kli cheres, tomei b'kol hakelim. When you touch the dead mouse, the outside of the earthenware, it's tahar. That same thing would make another kli tomei. Tar b'kol hakelim. If you put a dead mouse in the ear space of a regular metal kli, it would remain tar. Tomei b'kli cheres, that makes it tomei b'kli cheres. Now we have the very consistent. We have the Tanur Rabbanan that explains the Mishnah. Tanur Rabbanan avi kli cheres tomei v'gabi tar. The ear of a kli cheres is tomei. The outside is tar. Avir kol hakelim tar. There's no such thing as making the ear of a kli tomei, so it remains tar. V'gavon tomei. But if you touch the kli with tuma, it becomes tamei. Nimtza tar b'kli cheres, tamei kol kelim, tar b'kol kelim, tamei kli cheres. There's a difference between a regular kli and a kli cheres. How do I know this is Torah Rabbanan toichai? It says in the pasuk toichai. Here's the pasuk. It actually says toichai twice. Toichai kol asher b'toichai. We're going to see what those two words mean. Toichai v'ava pi shlei naga. Even if it didn't touch, it's inside the kli, the airspace of the kli. It doesn't have to touch. Maybe it means it touched. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you take a mouse and you touch the bottom of the inside of the kli on a kli cheres. You touch the bottom of the inside of the kli cheres. Tamei or not tamei? Why? Huh?
The way down. The way down.
Yeah, but kli cheres doesn't become tamei by touching. Kli cheres only becomes tamei from airspace. The only way to get to the bottom of the inside is by going through the airspace. So you already made it tamei. Okay, good. It was a trick question. So in Hebrew, litame means to make something else tamei, to make the food inside the oven tamei. The oven itself to become tamei, the kli itself. Litamei and litama. By me it says l'tamei and l'tama. Ma toichai omer l'tamei aval pi shlei naga. Just like the first toichai is referring to the food, it makes the other food tamei even though it didn't touch. After toichai omer l'tama aval pi shlei naga. So too, the oven itself becomes tamei without touching. V'azmenol omer Rabbi Yonasan atayr idu al kli cheres va'afilu moli chardol. So Rabbi Yisai, check this out. Let me just preface this for a second. Here. If these are two apples mamish touching each other, and a dead mouse, this is a dead mouse, touches this one right over here. This is avatuma, touches this apple, so this becomes a rishon. What did this become right over here? Why not a rishon? The mouse touched this and they're touching each other. Why not? Because that's how it works. They're separate entities. So even though they're touching, so this becomes a rishon, this becomes a sheni. And what does this third one become? A shlishi. So if I have tiny little mustard seeds, I have mustard seeds that fill up an entire kli. So there's two ways this could happen. I have an empty kli, and I put a mouse in the top. The mouse is avatuma, the kli becomes a rishon. I fill it up now with mustard seeds. The outer layer of mustard seeds all become sheni. The second layer inside become a shlishi. The third layer, revi, etc., etc. By the time I get to the center, that's it. I'm done. I can only go a certain amount. Maybe to chamishi, maybe. But everything in the middle should become tar. But if my kli is full of mustard seeds, and I take a mouse and I go like this in the inside, the entire thing becomes tamei. Let me show you what I mean.
Only by truma.
Chamishi only by paraduma. Here we go. I'm saying maximum. I'm giving you the benefit of that. I'm going for kachim all the way. Hold on. The kli just became a rishon. And then look what happens. The kli itself, that became tummy through the mouth, is a rishon all the way in the bottom. The first layer is a sheni, second layer is a shlishi, third layer is revi, and that's it. Then the whole inside becomes tar. But if that remains as is, and I put the mouse now I put the mouse on the top, then the entire thing is going to become tummy, and that's what the Gemara says. That they all become tummy through the dead mouse. Rabbi Yisai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.